even at like the 4-month mark, she was like, dude, I'm not like rolling or stretching. Like, I don't really like, she's like, I don't need to do that anymore. I was like, okay, good. Like, good. That's kind of, you don't need to necessarily. Like, yeah, it's okay to do, but like not for, I think, the application that we necessarily use it for. And so dude, like, she's picking up 60 pound, 80 pound, 100 pound deadlift sandbag, like, doing reps, and the hamstring is working. It's like starts with minimal movement and range, but then boom, the neural output comes, and then it starts to work. And now she's, let's say like 5 months in, she's like, dude, like I'm smashing my wattage on my bike. Like, I don't have to stand. Like, I can sit and get almost the same power output as if I were to stand.
Nice.
She's like, and I have no pain. She's like, this is unbelievable. She's like, I didn't even think. And that was like five months in. And so after that, like the hips started to sort themselves out. Mind you, there's still a little bit of work to do. It's not completely fucking fixed. But this is the thing,
like it, not to scare anybody off, but it will never be 100%. That's why you need to continuously working on it. If she would now stop, even with all the improvement, if she will only bike, swim, and run for next 5 years, she'll be where she was or even worse. Like, it's like,
100%, dude. Yeah. And she knows that now.
But other than that, just, doing my thing.
Were you with your brother, right?
Yeah.
Is that where you were?
Yeah, basically back home. But yeah, living with my brother.
That's good. How's he doing?
Oh, very good, very good. He has, oh my God, that would be a lot of talking just about that. But basically, he has this kind of crazy mindset regarding the training, maybe past year and a half. And anywhere, I wouldn't be able to describe it better than like the closest you can get to David Goggins without being David Goggins.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, he has this. He's training a couple of times a day, but not like 1.5, 2 hour sessions, but 30, 40 minute intense sessions, couple of times a day, plus every single day for, I think it will be over a year now. He's doing a march where he will load his backpack. Currently, he's carrying 55 kilos on his back, and he's doing minimum 2 kilometers because he's carrying it from home to the gym or from gym to the home at least once a day, every day.
Bro, what the fuck?
And if the weather is bad, well, suck it up, Like, we went together a couple of these marches, and then he also went for... That was pretty cool. Like, when I landed 23rd of December. So, like, right before Christmas. And we landed very early. Also, there was a delay, so we basically landed in the morning. We came home at around 6 a.m. I went directly to the gym, did some training with my brother. Then we went to the shooting range, also with our father. It was pretty cool. And then when we came home, he's already on the way home. He's like, well, I have this one more thing to do today. I was like, what? I already knew it would be something fucked up when he said it like that, And he's like, well, today I'm going for a 6 kilometer march with the backpack. Because I think every 2 weeks, he also does it for like a longer period of a time. Yeah. Which...
6 kilometers isn't enough.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it was snowing, and I know you are used to that probably.
Yeah.
But we are not as much. Well, I'm definitely not, living in Dubai.
Now that you're in Dubai.
But even in Slovakia, like, snow is fairly rare. Talk about global warming. When we were kids, it was very normal. Now it's like, if it happens, everybody's like, oh, wow, snow again,
Yeah, we're kind of like that, to be honest.
Okay, yeah. So it was pretty big blizzard. It was snowing, wind. We got lost in a park where we know it by heart. Like, we got lost because there were no paths anymore.
Yeah.
Everything was just white. So we were just walking in that. It was dark already, It was like 6
Yeah.
p.m., but it's dark from 5, maybe 4:30. So it was pretty dark, and we just like, we came back, all fucked up, traps completely gone. And I only had like 25 kilos on me because I just improvised and I just put some weight vests that were in the gym on
Some
top
weight
of each other.
in a bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have the bag. I used the vests.
Which is like uncomfortable too. That's almost arguably harder because the weight's all weird.
The bag is harder for sure. The bag, I would say, is harder because it's not evenly distributed and you need to lean forward. Yeah. So imagine having the weight directly on your shoulders and imagine having it in a way that you need to lean forward so you don't fall. Yeah. So
Yeah. I know. I've done a few of that. Like I've done a few rucks kind of like that in like just makeshift in a backpack, and like, bro, it was only like 30 pounds and it was rough, dude.
So my brother, he actually has, he somewhere he got one for me, and I'm using it when I'm going around on the bike and I need to take a lot of stuff with me. So it's pretty much all the time, like a actual military grade
Bag.
Bag, but it's like 60 liter, like big one.
Yeah, like deep. Yeah, deep.
Yeah, and he basically filled it with weights and plates and basically anything up to 55 kilos, and he's carrying it. So on top of it, he's training a lot, like a lot.
Dude, how does he recover from all that stuff?
How is Goggins recovering? Like, he will tell you recovery is overrated. But
I guess.
like, I get it. This is something I understand because towards last half a year, I was also pushing volume of training a little bit higher. But for me, it was mostly jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So it's a little bit different because when you go for 1 hour of jiu-jitsu, it's not like you go for 1 hour of non-stop lifting. It's not the same. Like, yes, it's partly intense in some parts, but also way less intense in other parts where you're just learning the movement or you're just moving through it. Yeah. So you can't say it's like a hard work for 1 hour. But the thing is that I noticed it on myself, and I can definitely see it on my brother, and he would definitely back this up. If you just add volume gradually, you actually recover better and better and better. And then if you have training more seldom, like you just kick in the metabolism, and especially if you sleep well, you eat enough protein, it's just like it's a different mode. You're literally kicking into this mode where the body is like, okay, we are doing this, and as hard as you go when you train, your body's trying to recover as hard as well.
There's no choice.
Yeah, there is no choice. It will just switch off. But it also happened to him, like, we were, like, not recently, but before, like, we were at the lunch, and he was just, like, sitting at the table, and he closed his eyes, and suddenly he was sleeping on the table,
Yeah, it's like now. Do it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like rest now.
Whenever you can. Plus, he also has 2 little kids. So when they have a nap time in the afternoon, and he's with them, he naps with them, which also is something that can help, but also it can fuck you up if you count on it too much, because they might not want to sleep whole time as much as you would like to, or there'll be some little emergency and they go to the bed later. Well, just like with little kids, like you never know. It's life, super unpredictable.
Yeah. And that doesn't mess with your circadian rhythms, sleeping with throughout the day.
Well, I did it a lot, and it doesn't. If you follow, like, I have this very simple rule for naps. It's either shorter than 20 minutes or it's multiplies of 90 minutes. Because it all has to do with the sleep cycles. Yeah.
Right.
Of course, it will be a little bit different for everybody. So but 90 minutes, it's, let's say, this like middle ground where you want to kind of experiment with it. And of course, it might be a little bit more or a little bit less. But I 100% tried this on myself repeatedly, and it's exactly that. Like if I don't have at least 90 minutes, I only do max 20, because in that stage you don't get to the deep sleep yet. It helps you. It recovers you. But once you get into the deep sleep, you need to finish the cycle or you'll be more fucked up.
That's why the 45-minute is like gross, because you need to do the
you basically
REM,
wake up
light,
in the
and then the deep. Yeah.
You wake up in that middle of the deep sleep or somewhere along, and it feels worse than if you wouldn't do anything. Yeah,
that makes sense.
So so sometimes when I had this kind of days, of course, like if you nap at 6 p.m. then for 90 minutes, and then you expect that you will go to bed normally at 10, like that's not going to happen. Yeah. So like early afternoon after lunch, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Up to maybe if you wake up to 4:30 p.m. and then you go to bed at 10, like that's still doable. At least this is like from my own personal experience. Yeah, later it would compromise my sleep, but it doesn't throw off your circadian rhythm, because, and this is again speaking from a very hot country, right? It's very normal to have the siesta after lunch because it's so hot outside that you wouldn't do anything anyway. You know what I mean? So it's very natural to have this downtime after a meal.
The culture's conducive to it. Oh man, I wish we had that here, dude. We do not live like that at all. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's too much. It's crazy. That's what I realize, like even from my own end, running business and stuff. It's like, dude, there's more. You need to stop more than you think. Like, just at least give your body the rest. Even for like an hour and a half, 20 minutes is enough. But if you go like every day, all day, it's just too much. The system doesn't like it, especially with like our seasons here. I'm really starting to notice that, like, because our seasons are very visible, right? Like there's change. It's winter, it's spring, it's summer, and it's fall. Like it's so distinct. And I think that, and I'm going to try this year, is like I'm actually, and I've started to do this, is like at least unwinding when the sun goes down and working within the time that the sun is up. So summer we can spend, like, dude, it doesn't get dark here till 9:30, 10 p.m. at night.
Same in Slovakia. That's exactly the same. Yeah.
We're probably follow a lot of the same hemisphere, like in like me and like us in Slovakia, Canada and Slovakia. I guarantee you.
The only thing is that we don't have the ocean there, so there is not much of the influence weather-like, you know. But
right.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
Right,
yeah.
But so I'm gonna this year. That's kind of what I've said, because I was like, man, like I just noticed these patterns of like, like the fall, like is always like, you know, I don't know if you've ever heard of like seasonal depression.
Oh yeah,
like,
of course. Yeah.
It's just the lack of vitamin D and stuff. Like I was like, I wonder if how much of that is just like you messing with your own circadian rhythms and the amount of like, if you're like, it gets, you know, peak season of winter, like it's dark at like 4:30 p.m. Like,
and then the other thing is how much of the artificial light has to do with it, right? The blue light late at night and all that stuff.
Exactly. Like, and even now, like I don't put any vertical lights on, like past 6. So it's like everything's horizontal, and it's gonna be like low light. If I need light.
When you say vertical, you mean below eye level, or?
Yeah, like above. So anything above your head, like that doesn't get turned on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Horizontal light. Yeah, and like that definitely helps. But like I'm gonna try a little bit more. Is like I'm gonna make a schedule a little bit more efficient around the season, like with work, because like I'm sometimes at work at like 7:00 at night, 6:00 at night. It's too late. Like the sun has gone down 2-3 hours ago.
Yeah,
you know. So I'm gonna play with that this year and see what I can do, because
I always had trouble coaching later classes.
Yeah,
when I was doing group sessions specifically, especially groups, because the energy you need to put there, and you know, and loud music, and usually the light in the gym is like the whitest light you can find, you know, and
it's
like
brutal.
Basically industrial light. And
exactly.
And then at 9 p.m. you're leaving that. The last playlist is still in your head. It's like there's no way you will sleep calmly in 1 hour. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that's the thing, right? I have to give myself at least 2 hours to like unwind. Like I'll get home and I don't do anything. I'll just sit on my couch and just like stare out my window for like 20 minutes. Let the body just kind of calm down, reset. Cause like when I look at my window, it's just trees and nature and stuff.
Well, that's
that
good.
Definitely
I
helps.
don't have anything like that here.
Boy, yeah, you're in a desert, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, that definitely has helped for sure. But I mean, it's tricky, you know.
Do you do some
well,
kind
that's
of,
interesting.
Do you do some kind of grounding?
Yeah, actually, that's how you're so funny, dude. Yeah, I do. I actually I try every night at least. I'll sit out, like I'll stand outside. I'll take my shoes off. I got grass like right outside my door, pretty much. And I'll just take my shoes off and I'll try to sit out there for at least 5-10 minutes.
Nice.
And I'll just put my feet in the ground, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
The thing with that is it's fucking cold right now, bro. So like your feet are just like dying, but
I even had,
you know?
I even have, not like I'm using it, but I have it. I have this grounding mat you can buy. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's big enough to even use it as a like under sheet for your bed.
You can like lay down on it?
Yeah. It depends. I have different sizes and stuff because there was one time where we were like going like crazy after it. But now because we have dog, whenever I walk her, the weather here is pretty okay for slippers all year round. Even though, you know, in winter it gets like, now it's the winter, so it gets a little bit colder. So you don't want to stand in that sand for hours, but like for 10-15 minutes it's fine. So whenever we go out with her, I will just go with the slippers and then slip them off and walk in the sand for some kind of grounding.
Yeah. That helps too.
When you said about the vitamin D, have you been looking at or trying some red light?
Dude, no, I haven't. But I've been looking, like I've periodically looked into it, but I've never executed on it.
So because the thing is that, and this I remember from old time, so there might be some new stuff and new research. Anyway, if we take all the possible methods and now injecting vitamin D directly with an injection is not included in this. I don't know the efficiency of that, but because it's pretty much directly to your system, I would guess it might be pretty high. But what is bioavailability of that? It's another question. But the oral supplementation with vitamin D, which means pills or krill oil, omega-3 with a D or whatever it is actually one of the lowest ability to absorb for the body. So the highest is obviously the sun, the natural way. Yeah. But the second highest would be the red light therapy. Way, way more efficient and better for vitamin D creation than actually taking oral supplements. And it's a one-time investment. And it's like, however many people are in your household, it doesn't matter because everybody can use it. And, you know, when you're buying pills for more people, you need to buy more pills. When you're buying red light, yes, it's an investment with a lot more money, but over time, it will definitely pay off. Plus, it helps for skin. It even depends on what kind of protocol you will use, which means the time you spend in front of it, the distance you spend there, and so on. It can help with like internal organs as well, digestion and shit. Yeah, everything possible. Not only for the vitamin D.
I'll have to, because dude, like I've seen my fair share of naturopaths and done the thing, and like I've actually had like 50,000 like MCs injected into me through vitamin D, like intravenous.
Okay,
that I noticed a little bit, but that's like such a huge dose. But you're right. I've never like noticed anything significant with oral, like any oral medication ever. And
I can tell you one thing.
D,
the red light therapy, if you put it on your balls, it will not put it, but like you actually make light. Yeah, like you do it naked.
Yeah,
it helps with it's increasing testosterone. That's proven as well.
Really?
Yeah. You know how people were doing, I don't know if you noticed that, but there was some, maybe it's just the weird feed I'm getting on Instagram, but there were people who were doing
No, I think I know exactly where you're going with this.
butthole tanning and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I've
that
seen
was
that.
because of that as well. Because also the vitamin D absorption is the best on the lightest part of your skin, which obviously means the ones that are covered all the time, which means your ass. So right, so people are sticking the ass to the sun and making a big fuss about it on the social media because everybody wants to see that. So
that makes sense, right? Because you're gonna have less. What is it? It's not keratin. It's like you're gonna have less of that.
Yeah, it's the cholecalciferol that's triggered by the UV light that's transformed into the vitamin D and absorbed.
Right.
But anyway, it makes sense. The only thing is that, rather than, especially for example, in this country, even though there is a lot of sun, I don't really see option being on a balcony naked to get the sun because I'll get arrested.
Especially where you are, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
need
fair.
like neighbors are reporting us for less weird shit than this. So,
dude, yeah, no doubt, right? That's funny.
Yeah,
that's wild. Well, do you have a good company that's like worth getting? If you do, like, just send it to me via Instagram.
We have, I will definitely send it to you, but I can't remember from my head because Tima ordered it. And it's not cheap, but you don't need to get the biggest unit, right? We got a unit that is like it's like 1 meter tall or something, but they do half of it, and it's still kind of the same. We just did it because it covers the whole room, and we can both sit next to it, Right. Some people even do like a little workouts, like they will darken the room, turn it on, and do some like core workout and stuff to like open up the pores and stuff. But I don't know, I've never really done it in any serious manner to notice a difference if I can hold plank better than afterwards or whatever. So that I don't know, but I know some people are using it in that way. But for example, what it really significantly, markedly helped with was Tima was dealing with a hair loss a little bit. Or better say, she was dealing with more hair loss than she was comfortable with because like we're losing the hair all the time. But at some point it got to a point like for her that it was like, no, this is not normal, this is too much. And it's fairly common here because of the quality of the water and the minerals you're getting and not getting and all that. And she was looking at all the possible options, what to do. And she found that red light therapy should help for that. And that was the first reason why we got it. And
crazy.
Within 2 weeks, she fixed it.
Wow.
She was just lying in front of it for 8 to 10 minutes every day. And she fixed her hair loss thing, which was like, that was some fucking magic, because it wasn't like, a couple of more hairs fell off last 2 weeks. It was long-term, maybe half a year, 8-month thing, and then she fixed it within 2 weeks. The only thing she did, she was sitting in front of it for a couple of minutes a day,
Dude, that's crazy.
And you can still do shit when you are sitting there. It's not like you are binded to it. You just like obviously want to be as much naked as possible. Yeah, so you get as much absorption. So being there with a winter jacket wouldn't really help. And and you can like write stuff, you can scroll, you can watch a movie, it doesn't matter. You just turn it on and you're in front of it.
Dude, man, that's funny because I've looked into it here and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do it. And then just, one of those things, you just don't act on it. Yeah. So, but I'll do that, dude. I'll do that.
Like it's definitely worth exploring, and and you might, I think, This Christmas, I think she bought 2 units and she got one to her sister and one to her parents. Just
just she was like, "This is the thing."
Like this really works.
Yeah, dude. Okay, well, that's good to know. So I've seen one. I know a buddy that's had one, and it's like you can get all total different sizes. I've seen them. You can get them like in different shapes, even ones that you just like put in front of your face and stuff.
Oh yeah, you can buy a helmet.
You can get any. Yeah.
Yeah, because
course,
people using
dude.
it for the hair loss.
2024, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do anything. Fuck. I wouldn't doubt it.
You can buy one for each ball specifically, you know.
Yeah, yeah, dude, exactly. Just couple them there, little string, and just you're done, dude.
Underwear with a red light.
Dude.
Anyway.
There we go, dude.
You tell me what's new with you, because you got very busy lately, and
bro, it's unreal, man. It's unreal. It's I'm so busy, dude. I don't know what to do but work. It's like, it's all the, Julian talks about like the black swans and stuff, like those events. Like that recently just happened to me. It was like I work at a gym, right? That's kind
amazing.
of like communal. So it's like we just trainers, we just rent space from this like gym. Because getting space out here is like insane. Like you have to have a good amount of money to like get even just like a little warehouse or something. Like real estate in any facet here, fucked. It's fucked. So anyways, slowly saving up to get my own spot, but this is a great place. And anyways, there's just been, we do things very differently, right? Sandbags, ropes, sleds, like just not your average training. And so I've helped a couple people out there.
Let's say it's not mainstream. Yeah.
It's not mainstream by any means. So like there's a couple trainers there, like, dude, they're like just fucking hobbling up the stairs and like hobbling around the gym. And like one of them's just stretched, like rolling out the hip all the time, glute med basically. And I just, I'm just like, hey, like what's going on? Like I'll just talk shop. And one of them ended up being like this triathlete. And phenomenal. Like she's been doing it for 14 years. She has her own business, so she like coaches people. But like broken, bro. Like basically a torn hamstring on the left side, and I just was like, man, like I think I can help you. And like she's like, well, that would be great. She's like, I've been to physio, chiro, all this stuff, like the same old stuff that we pretty much run into. And dude, this girl is like, I've helped her, and it's just like she's noticed, not even with just like the physical side, the structural side, but like her behavior. So how she trains, and like just even her kind of just the way that she's interacted in certain situations in life.
Yeah.
She's like, man, I've never been this person. And so she was just like to the moon because everything's changed. Like she had she had no glute and hammy on either leg. Like basically it was like kind of swapped. And then she was just getting like real bad like QL pain, and then like just, low back pain, and then shoulder pain. And like, dude, no one could fix it. And everyone's just needling and fucking adjusting. And I was like, okay, well, you have no hamstring on this side, like zero. Like it doesn't work. And like you have no glute on the other side. So like that's a problem. Like you have no big structure. And like cycling and running, right? So bike, swim, run. It's like the same movement pattern for more than a third, like a quarter of the race. It's like the movement pattern of biking and running is like so similar. And like you're hammering that in training forever, because that's all they do is volume. And dude, just got her to kind of step back from the running and then just kind of do the cycling. She's barely been swimming, and like, dude, she's been strength training 3 times a week. Bro, unreal. So that cascaded into like this whole, like, all these triathletes are now starting to come to me, and like, they're like, because they're broken, bro. They're just like CrossFitters. It's weird. They're the long distance CrossFitters. And that's what's been crazy is like I've noticed like just the behaviors are very similar in the way that like they opposite ends of the spectrum, but like they function in very similar ways where it's just like more is better. One's stuck in like lower intensity, the other's stuck in high intensity, but they can't swap. So just all of this stuff started coming, and then, dude, it's like one after the other, and it filled like within like 3 months. It's like I've gone from, 20 hours to like getting up to like 35 hours.
Nice.
A week.
Nice.
So It's awesome. It's just a lot of work, man.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
You know what it's like.
Are you thinking about making like a small groups based on similar problems?
Well, that's the thing is like it's really hard at the gym I'm at.
Okay.
But that's kind of where I would like to go because it would be easier to address.
Yeah.
And dude, it's literally the same. Like it's great because so I got a guy that I helped too. He had a real bad shoulder dislocation surgery. So like every month it was just pop, 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 popping out. Eventually they went in there, he had to get surgery, and he's just another trainer at the gym, and he's like, man, like, what are you doing? Same kind of story. And so I was like, dude, your shoulder, like you look at him too. Big guy, built, no pecs, like 0 pecs, none. And I was like, and your lats, like they're not really working, and you kind of got no teres in the back either. And so, dude, I was like, let's do some rope pulls.
No shit, shoulders hurting.
Yeah, 2 weeks, dude. He's like, bro, my shoulder's not clicking anymore. And like, you know, mind you, it's not fixed by any means, but now it's been like 2 months, 3 months, and he's like, bro, I'm benching the most I've ever benched in my life, and he's like, I don't feel like my shoulder's gonna blow out. So, from there, he's pretty much been helping me, kind of like assess with some people, because he's a full kinesiologist, so he just runs like even just some simple tests, and it's so funny, man, like, you just go like, left side, right side, glute max, you know, adductor, just the big structural muscles. And what we're starting to see is like, the minute you have one on the other side, you can almost guarantee the other side's not going to work. And so like, we're making up this little formula, and dude, all these triathletes have the same problems, man. It's so bananas, dude.
Well, I worked with a couple of triathletes before, and I'm like in a kind of on a distant touch with a couple of them still.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's, as you're saying, loading so much on a couple of muscle groups that have limited capacity for actual contraction, not even prolonged contraction. And like it's going to show somewhere, right? I just want to... I have a couple of things that came into my mind. One is just like a thought into the space, yeah? Don't take it like I'm criticizing anything you said by any mean. The terminology you used. I know in a strong fit we did it a lot, and we're always talking like, you know, no glutes, no hamstring, no lats, and this is not working, this is not existent. And this is just my view, like I really changed the narrative around it because people don't tend to take it well, first of all. And many don't understand what it means, and many just don't take it well when you tell them that, especially when they are at any level of competitiveness, even it's competitiveness with themselves. But if you tell them something's not working at all, it's like they tend to get fairly defensive many times, yeah? So like... And how I explain it...
You know what's funny?
Yep.
Is that's actually been the reason why they come to me.
Oh, nice.
because yeah, I know. Because
you destroyed them mentally.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what is like, it's weird. Because like, I don't always do that with everyone. It really is situation dependent. Because I agree with you. Like, a lot of people will just reject you. And like, that's... But there's a certain amount of people that have come to me, and they want that because it's like they want to know, because no one's told them the problem. Like out here with practicing kines and chiro and all, everyone is like this fragile little bird that just got out of, you know, the egg, and it's like, don't touch the bird, and it's like they aren't that. Yeah. And so when they're told like, hey, like this isn't really helping you, like this isn't, not that, you know, it's not. I don't say it necessarily in that way, like, oh, it just doesn't work. Like, I was like, and I'll explain kind of how neural output works, capacity, skill, like all that kind of stuff. So it's backed behind more information.
Yeah, of course.
But when they're like, they're kind of, the lights, the eyes kind of light up. They're like, oh, like there's fucking hope. Yeah. Like there's a solution. No one's told me any of this. Like you know, like all the physios and all the adjusters they're always kind of like, oh, well, it's like this very ambiguous thing they're trying to tell these people. And it's all wrapped up in like terminology. And I'm just like, well, you know, your glute.
Basically, like bullshitting.
We need to get this going.
Like bullshitting the way around it because they don't really have the answer, right?
Yes, dude. And that's the Western world very much for you, is like, they'll bullshit right to your face, and then, you know, and it's like, you're not helping them.
So from the standpoint, like a different perspective for me is that from the standpoint of using the language right, yeah? If I tell somebody your glute is not working, it's not true.
No, it's not true.
It's not true. It's like by that sentence on its own, however we know how we mean it, but by the expression of that language, that's not true. Or like you have no hamstring, or like your hamstring's not working at all, or your lat is not working at all. Like that's not true. Those muscles are working, but they are compromised. So how I like to explain it, it's like a classic pyramid where at the bottom of the pyramid you have the muscles that are supposed to do the movement. So the main mover of the movement pattern. So obviously it's dependent for pull, push, horizontal, vertical. It will be all dependent on what you actually do. But when we take simple biking, well, it's not really simple, but let's take biking. So okay, when you pushing the leg down, so the pedal is going from the top position to the bottom. Well, that's when you're extending the leg, but you extending the hip and the knee at the same time. So your quad is working, your glute is supposed to be working. And then when you're pulling the leg up, is your hamstring working, partly calf a little bit, when you're going from the bottom position of the pedal to the top, especially the pros who actually have the foot fixed on the pedal. They also use this move significantly. They pull up, and that's when the hip is going into the flexion. So obviously hip flexors and the hamstring. And the thing is, nobody with zero function in the glute would be ever able to be biking. But then you have the pyramid of the main movers, then the muscles that are synergists, which are
works a ton.
The muscles that are helping, and then you have the stabilizers. And the whole problem of these people is that the hierarchy is messed up. The shit that is supposed to do the main work is only stabilizing. The stuff that is supposed to be only stabilizing is doing the main work, and so on. There can be so many different dysfunctions and missed. The hierarchy can be broken on a multiple levels, right?
Well, it gets reversed sometimes. Right?
That it will be completely. And that's when people will tell you, like, my rotator cuff is responsible for my pain in the shoulder. Like, no. Your rotator cuff is the thing that is hurting in your shoulder, but it's not responsible for the pain. And this is where the explanation and the actual language comes in, especially with athletes, because the knowledge is power, right? If you tell them, they are able to understand. And before I have a couple of questions for you, more specific, but I just want to note one simple thing. I had a experience with a chiro last week. She's a friend of mine, extremely knowledgeable, experienced, educated, like a total pro. I met her as a colleague of my girlfriend, Timea, and we are friends. I a little bit messed up my knee. Something was going on. I didn't really know what. It was kind of painful. It was getting better every single day. I could feel the difference, and I was already able to bend it and all that. But then she came, and she was just visiting us for dinner, and she looked at me and was like, "Oh shit, your knee is your patella is dislocated," and she just said it like this when we were basically talking over dinner. I was like, "What? I didn't know that." What And then she was like, "Well, it should be like when it happened, 10 days or 11 days I was walking on it," which I didn't know. It wasn't really making it worse, but it definitely wasn't making it better. And she was like, "Well, we need to pop it back." And now, in that moment and the whole experience, now I have to say, I understand why chiros and physios are important. I was always like, not trash talking them necessarily, but I always thought
same.
like, it's a passive treatment and all that. Well, I don't know how actively I would put it ever back. Like that would never happen. Without her help,
Yes.
it would stay where it is, and I would start to have where it was, and I would start to have knee pain, ankle pain, stiffness on my whole leg because all the muscles were trying to protect it. And then she started to dig elbow, fingers, whatever, into all the surrounding muscles because she needed to release it. It was all stiff.
Yeah.
From the dislocation, it was all stiff. I was yelling, crying. It was intense, very intense release. So like after like 45 minutes, hour of releasing, the patella kind of slipped into its place, and it's all way better since. The recovery is way better. Just the inside part of the knee is still a little bit sensitive because the quad tendon got affected by the dislocation, but that's pretty much it. I'm just waiting for that to heal, and I'm good to go. I'm already like walking normally and working on it, training. Not crazy stuff, but I'm training. Now the thing is like, I've never seen a place for a passive treatment, but there was a place for it. And as she was doing it super intensively, later on I asked my friend, a doctor who was dealing with this kind of stuff, because he was working on in an emergency room, and he's working on an ambulance, so he's dealing with a lot of crazy shit. And he's like, if I would do it in the terrain, I would use an anesthesia. I was like, okay, well, I wasn't given this option because she's not working with anesthesia, right?
Right.
And then I was talking again with her about it. It's like, well, not like I'm complaining. I was very thankful for everything she did. I'm very thankful for that. But I was just like asking her, like, what do you think about this? Because, well, there are a couple of options, right? You need to release the muscles. You can massage them fairly softly for like 30 minutes so they relax. Or you smack the anesthesia injection into it, you make it all kind of go numb, pop it back, done. Or you do or you did what she did, that she very intensively released those muscles. Like it was extremely painful, but it was done in a fairly short period of the time, and she popped it back. And she told me like, look, I know it's painful, I know it's not nice, but like I don't want to spend half a day on one patient, first of all. And second of all, we do it this way once and you are sorted. I don't ever have to see you again. Or we do it softly, slowly, and it will be a weeks long procedure, right? So I started to look at it, thanks to this personal experience, completely differently. Like, yes, passive treatments and all that, it has its place, and it definitely has its function in the system. We are just very many times lazy people, use these methods when they are not necessary because they are lazy. And they should be working on their own with their own muscles, right?
That's a lot of people. There's a distinction that has to be made. Because I was kind of the same way as you until I met this kinesiology guy, and he's basically working with me. And I was like, man, these tests that you're doing, like, I just thought these were like, okay, sure, they work. But now I'm like, wait a second, like, this is showing, because usually, like, okay, like, you can stress the muscle, you can stress the structure, and then it's going to show you, right? That's like the way that you can do things. Yeah, you stress, not wrong necessarily.
You stress the system, and it will either break.
It'll show you. Yeah, it'll show you where the weakness is. But I was like, well, what if you could like almost do something before that, and then stress it, and then it almost is like, okay, that's going to show you through the test, and you know, the testing is not 100% accurate. But I was like, there's something that you can maybe. What if you could just find the source of the problem faster? That's what that's what it started to show. I was like, oh, this is actually expediting the process. Just like your lady saying like, okay, well, I could do it this way, but then I'm dealing with one person for half the day. Yeah. And it's just like, it's the same thing with these tests. It's like, you can expedite it, and it has its place. Like, all of these people have their place.
Go on.
We get trapped because here, I don't know what it's like where, you know, in Europe and stuff, but like here in Canada, like, you get into, and this is the crazy thing, because it's a system problem, right? So you get into a car accident. This is crazy, by the way, how this is even fucking legal anymore. You don't get, if someone were to like seriously fuck you up out of pure negligence, right? Like, you won't get paid for that. So if your quality of life decreases, you're not compensated through insurance.
Okay.
All you get is chiro, physio, RMT. That's it.
RMT? What's RMT?
Registered massage therapy.
Oh, okay.
So,
but it needs to be registered. Unregistered, you don't get.
yes. So yeah, pretty much. Well, and everything's registered here, which obviously makes sense. But so then, like, you get these people that get into these like car accidents. They haven't worked a fucking day in their life. They haven't worked out, and then you get them in here, and they're just like, "Well, this is my treatment," like, and they don't give a shit. So it's like, you know, they're kind of like looking at you like, "Okay, well, you're gonna fix me," kind of thing. And that happens to a lot of people. And then that's kind of like the culture that gets thrown around. Yeah. It's like, oh, like, you know, and especially in CrossFit, is like, and this is what I'm starting to notice a lot in like gyms, is like gyms are now branching off and having like physio, RMT, and like chiro in the gym. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, you know, like isn't like, and I get it. Like, you know, there's like, they have their place. You know, look, if you get fucking whacked by a car and you break your fucking bone and you rip some muscle, like, you need to rehab that properly. And those guys are great at that stuff. They need to get you to get the range of motion back into the tissue and back into the joint. Like, that's necessary. And you can't just go throw around the fucking yoke. Like,
but the gym comes past that point.
Exactly.
When they are done with you.
So we need, like, I am all for those people, but you know exactly, is like, so many people are relying on that. And then the same thing with like the gyms. It's like, okay, well, why are you guys like needing, like, why is this happening more often? Like, okay, maybe it's a business decision, maybe, but like CrossFit, I know, is like, oh, like, yeah, your shoulder is hurting snatching. Like, oh, just go book upstairs with the physio or the whatever the problem is. Like, go book with those guys up there. And it's like an extension of the business. I was like, okay, well, how is this healthy? Like, there's a bigger, like, this is not going to help you either. Like, you're snatching wrong, you know? Yeah. So that type of behavior, is very prominent out here. Like, it's crazy. Like, nobody, you know, wants to, like, I mean, until you're desperate enough that you can't walk anymore, your knee hurts, then people are looking for my solution, your solution.
Yeah. Or after they tried so many things that didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they know, because the system is, and like, you know, some people do get relief, which is great. Like, I've had, dude, this kinesiology guy's helped me with my shoulder and just like gave me he's like, yeah, dude, your fucking low trap's not working. Which, by the way, that's what that ring muscle up is. It's the low trap on the left side. Uh-huh. And he just did like a simple test, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is just not, dude. You're very weak here.
Yeah, so
this needs to work better."
So back to that testing, I just wanted to say one thing that I find a little bit controversial with this, and I was always telling this to Timea as well, and the people in her clinic where she is, and the therapist I got to talk with. Look, like, we know that. And I met a couple of people like that who are also therapists, like physical therapists or chiros, and also coaches. Mm-hmm. But like, not like, oh, I'm a little bit of physio and a lot of coach, or like, no, like full on both. Yeah, you are proper trained in one and you are proper trained in another one. Not like, I did CrossFit level 1 and I'm a physiotherapist, or I read one physiotherapy book and I'm a CrossFit level 3, for example. Yeah, like, no, like proper trained. I met a couple of people like that, and I had fairly, you know, enlightening and nice conversation with them, because we are on the same page.
Yes.
Where I was self-taught through the CrossFit coach, and then formal education in kinesiology. So I know we can call it lucky or whatever, because I got it both. But why shouldn't everybody strive to have the view in the center, yeah? Because the biggest problem with these assessments, what you are saying is that if somebody is lying in front of you on the table and you tell him to lift the leg and you're like, the hamstring here and then glutes here, and you do the tests for muscles, like that's nowhere close to the way they'll be loading the muscles in a gym, even they are the laziest fuck in the world. Like even the laziest gym rat who is not anywhere close to CrossFit performance, is just doing everything in isolation. Even those people don't do the movements in the gym in a way they are tested in the clinics. And
that's true.
They are not loading it like test of lifting the arm. You imagine you just stretch your arm in front of you. Your palm is on the level of the shoulder. You put 2 fingers on the wrist or on the hand, and he's supposed to press up if there is any pain or not. This is, I know if now, but it used to be very used test, for example, for the pain of supraspinatus. Like, how is this? Okay, it can show you something. I'm not saying it's completely invalid. It can show you something, but how is this valid to a guy who is trying to push jerk 130 kilos?
Right.
Resistance of 2 fingers in stretched arm, like, or hamstring. You lying on your belly and you lifting the leg up. Of course, if it's so fucked up, there will be a pain. But what if the pain will shift and go somewhere completely else under the load? Because the load is very different when you actually do deadlift or a squat or a lunges or whatever it is. So I find very thin line between this. Like, okay, use the assessment, but you also need to use a movement, an actual movement that person is using or is going to be using to assess whether they...
So that's funny, because that's what I do. Is like, okay, now I've been integrated, and it's good because it's actually, like, I agree with you. Because, like, dude, loading a fucking hand and loading a squat is like 2 different fucking things.
You know, like, what is
You
know what is crossover symmetry?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I used to do that.
Yeah. Well, cool. Like, look, I have, and now I'm not kicking into the company because it's a brand and everything. Yeah. It's a brand of very, very expensive elastic bands.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
With the protocols for shoulder. Look, I've seen a guy who I thought he's in some kind of a seizure and he's trying to mimic a crawl swimming. Standing next to the rig holding 2 bands, And I came to him and he's like, what are you doing? Crossover symmetry, my physio showed me. I was like, well, first of all, I really doubt he showed you to do this way you're doing it. Like, this is ridiculous. And second of all, you doing crossover symmetry with a 5 kilo resistant elastic band
is not
and you're going to snatch 80 kilos after.
Yeah. 100%.
But look, and the biggest thing is, I don't think that is the problem of the crossover symmetry. Because if that person has built awareness before, exactly how they are using it, if he will go there and he will do exact same movement that the crossover symmetry protocol is saying, you have 2 hands, they called it X, Y, Z, whatever the letters, right? Like,
letters.
The T position, the Y position, and whatever. And you basically just working a rear delt. Oh, cool. Yeah, they just didn't tell you. Now, you should feel it in your rear delt. It's as simple as that. When you're pulling the arm to that position and you're holding the band that is in front of you, you should feel the side, the back side, and maybe side of your delt.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're not doing it right. If you do it right and you do some holds into it and you breathe correctly and you focus on that contraction, guess what? You'll probably warm up good for that snatch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mainly just want to ask you, what you do with these triathletes? Like, what is your, like, can you just do a little walkthrough?
Little walkthrough?
You can just put, like, somebody more specific, like not in general, but like, okay, this is the problem. This is what I do. This kind of exercises.
So, So even okay, so like to like round out like what you said about the testing, like that's not the only thing I do. I've just introduced it as like, okay, I want to see what this does, and then from there I stress it, and I see if that test is valid or not.
Yeah, well,
Because then that's what really is going to show what's really happening.
The best test is to do something and then ask them if they feel better after it, right?
Yeah, dude, 1,000%. Well, that and you can fucking see.
Oh yeah,
like you can see the structure. Like start like you're like okay, well, because that's the thing too is like you can see when their knee is fucked or their hip is fucked. Like. And then you can start to see things level or straighten out properly. Look, it looks more functional. Like the joint is starting to like actually be in a better place. That's when you know, okay, this is where we need to go. That to me is the golden ticket. That's how you're going to fix things.
And a good thing about these people who are like, no offense to anybody, but in regarding of the strength work, because I guess which is what we'll be talking about mostly about your treatment. Yeah. When they are, no offense again, or even offense, I don't really care. If they are so weak as they are, the changes will be immediate because you
instantaneous, dude. That's what I've noticed. Okay, so you want me to give a specific... By the way, this is like nothing that I wanted to talk to you about today. I wanted to talk to you about nutrition, but that's okay.
Okay. Let's finish this and then we'll see.
We'll see where you're at. And if we have to make another one, we can stop this one and we can do another one if you have time. If not, we can book another day and do that.
Of course.
There.
As always.
As always, dude. Okay, so the walkthrough. So, who can I use? You want me to kind of give an example and take you through like what I did and how how I've helped them and fixed them?
Yeah, like this was the problem. This is what you found out. This is the method you used. This is the kind of training protocol, movement scheme, whatever you call it. You implemented, and this is what happened.
Yeah. So kind of before I met the guy that I was just doing my assessments the way that I usually have, which is they work well. Like, as we both know, right? So I get an intake. First thing, it's like, where have you been? Where do you want to go? Kind of thing. So what's your sports history and what's your injury history?
Yep.
Which, by the way, everyone will tell you their sports history, but people will lie through their teeth on the injury history.
Yeah, I'm 100% fine.
That's what I've noticed.
Yeah.
I'm more capable. Like they want to be more capable.
Hey, I had.
Mind you, not always that's more or less the gen pop than the actual like athletes. I find because I find some of the athletes they're there because they fucking know that there's a problem and they need the help.
Hey, I know a girl who didn't tell her.
Say some interesting things. I was like, well, that would have been nice to know. Anyways,
I know.
So it's sports history, injury history.
Are you there? Oh, you cut off completely. I can't hear you. Jonathan? Hello? Hello?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know. It just disconnected.
Oh shit. Okay.
That's okay.
Okay, let's you can just start the sport history and
you're back.
Yeah.
So I'll walk through the sport history and then the injury history. And then that gives me like a pretty good snapshot of what's going on. So one client that came to me that I kind of actually was like just watching her at the gym, and I was like, she's a coach there too, and she's the triathlete trainer, and I was like, hey man, like you're always like rolling on, I think it was the left glute med. And I was like what's like, what's going on? And then she kind of walks through me, and like we talk about it. And so I get her in for an assessment, and then she's like, yeah, like, so she's had some partial tears on the left hamstring. Okay. And then that basically, she's had some like really bad, like low back pain. So not focal to the spine, like radiating across, like the low back. More specifically to the left side. And then she's had there was an issue with the psoas on the right side. And then there was also the right shoulder. So more like kind of would get like pain by the, what was it? I think it's the subscap and then basically radiate to the upper trap and then through the neck to the head. So she was getting quite a lot of pain in like very specific. So reaching for swimming would suck on the right shoulder, and whatnot. So I was like, okay, well, what's the biggest problem? And she's like, well, it was my back. And I was like, okay, well, we go there first. The shoulder was secondary because it wasn't always getting like that. But the back was like the worst because she would ride and she basically had to stop running. And she even went to like a gait runner, right? Like they put you on a treadmill, they watch your gait, so foot pressure, all that stuff. And the funny thing is like the guy was like, yeah, okay, well, we need to get you to like start doing like these like micro runs. And I was like, I don't know if that's like the greatest idea. Like if you're getting this much pain, like I would just like, you know, like let's just trim running out and let's just see. And like this client too, like she was like so much in pain like every day that she's like, we'll do whatever. She's like, I just need some help. And so once we do the injury history and all that stuff, basically what I do is first thing is like, where are your psoas and obliques? Or sorry, your low abs and obliques. Like, so I do the like oblique opener with the kettlebell. Mm-hmm. And I do that, and dude, it's non-existent. And by non-existent, I mean like the obliques, like the low abs don't work like at all. Mm-hmm. So the kettlebell won't raise. And I was like, okay, well, are you doing anything? And so I manually put my fingers there. And like the obliques aren't bad. They're actually okay, but the low abs are basically gone. And so like she just has a really hard time connecting to them. Not that they're gone in the sense like we talked about, like she can't get, it's just she can't get neural output to that muscle.
Yeah.
Like I can feel it. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. I was like, that I note that. And then I basically take her to like a back extension machine. You know, like something that you like lean forward on, put your heels in. And I was like, okay, like I want to see what your hammy's doing and what your glutes are doing. So I basically get her to lean over and I like get her to curl the trunk. And I was like, okay, I want you to squeeze your hips, like your glutes, and I want you to try to raise your body up a little bit. There's like no movement. Everything comes from the spine. And so the point of access of where the rotation and the movement comes from is through the spine.
And this person, okay. Yeah, like what kind of level of triathlete is she?
Like Ironman, multiple Ironmans.
No
like,
way.
She's good. Yeah. Oh yeah.
No fucking way.
Oh bro, dude, we can talk about this. I'm in a world that like
you would never. I don't get this. This
dude,
is crazy.
Pal, you don't even understand. Like the conversations I have with this person, like phenomenal because she's opened my mind up in so many ways and understanding how people work, especially behavior. But like, dude, like I'm not kidding. She's a good athlete and she's a monster. Like she's a monster. Like she is really.
But this is the thing. Like she's a great athlete without any athleticism. You know, like
that's the thing. It's like all of these people are skilled. They're just really good at movement. That's it.
Yeah.
And like not even, and that's even that you could even argue too. So we do that, and then what I'm looking at is like I also look at the physical shape of muscles, right? So like I'm looking at like the actual definition of the muscle. Right? And we know this, there's quantity and quality, right? Yeah. That can dictate how the muscle functions. And so the hamstring, it's just like on the left side, it's just like massive. Mm-hmm. So it's just like huge. And then the right side, there's just like this tiny little guy. And then the look at the glute is offset. So the left glute is very small. And then the right glute is just more proportionate. It looks more normal. Mm. And I was like, okay, well, there's definitely this hip imbalance thing happening here.
Yeah.
Like, there's an issue here that, like, something's not working. And so if the left hamstring is starting to, like, tear, maybe this thing is just, like, it's either A, not, like, it's too lengthened, so it can't contract, so it's just being pulled, so that's where the tearings come from, or it's doing too much work. I was like, I don't know. Well, I have to figure out.
Based on what you say, I would guess because of the left glute is basically has a hard time contributing to the work. Then I would say that the left hamstring was not big because it was super strong, but because it was super overloaded with everything.
Bingo.
Okay.
You're right, sir. So what do? Is I basically get her. So I'm like, okay, I want to see just where the pain level is at. So I get her to push a sled, heels down, find the glutes.
Oh yeah.
If we can connect it.
Good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
We add weight, looking good, not bad. The glutes, yes, there's trouble there, but it's like it's not the greatest. So it's okay, but it's manageable. We can work with it. So I was like, okay. So that looks okay. So I was like, then the next step for me is like, okay, let's grab a sandbag and let's do a sandbag deadlift. Oh my gosh, bro. That was it. That's when I knew. I was like, the hammy is just, the right hammy was just, the left hammy was doing everything.
So when you looked at it was basically looking like her left side of the body is doing the deadlift and the right side is not doing anything, yeah?
Yeah, it was like this little tilt in this like little, and then the pelvis was shifted forward, and then that would make, and then I was like, okay, well this is why your psoas is acting up too. Because then like the glute, like you're having so much then the hip on the right side is loading so much anteriorly. Because the hip on the back side is loaded more posteriorly. So the body has to crank from both sides, but not equally. So that's why you're getting like this. She's like, well, it's weird because I feel it on this side and then I don't feel anything on this side. I was like, well, yeah, this is what we have. Like, and do you see how I was like, and in simple terms for them, right? Like, this is what I'm learning. Like, they're addicted to numbers, which is not necessarily the best thing. So Strava, these numbers, like power output, wattage, RPM, like, they love it. Because it validates their world. And I was like, yeah, because but like, I'm telling you right now,
how much kilometers you did today? Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I need to get. You can find the charts of how many kilometers you need to do swimming in a prep, how much bike, how much run weekly leading to the iron. It's fucking crazy. But there's nothing said about the squats and deadlifts, right?
No, and so. It's quantity, and this is where I'm like, because I'm coming from CrossFit, right? So I was like, well, this is weird. Like, this is like, like I know what this looks like. I've been here before.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's more is better. And I was like, okay. And so I start talking to her, and the good thing is like she's there all the time, and like we got to chat a lot, which is like you don't necessarily get that in an hour session, right? Like you're trying to fix them, help them, right, the best that you can. But like I would always just spend extra time with her because I was like, well, she's nice, and we kind of developed a bit of a friendship through it. And I was like, okay, like and I was learning too from their just even the way that they approach their training. I was like, this is fascinating, and that's all this behavior stuff. And so from there we worked. It was like we did a lot of sandbag deadlifts, we did a lot of sled drags, a lot of sled pushes. And like, dude, like she's an athlete, so like she can connect. Once she knows what she needs to do, it was like, dude, it's boom, man. Like she's like, she started to notice a difference. She's like, dude, my back. She's like, oh my gosh, like my back isn't hurting, my hamstring. She's like, when I'm cycling, and months go by, and like I've been working with her for like almost 8 months now.
Oh wow, okay. So this is okay. So you can already see a little bit longer time span on this. Nice, that's very good.
Exactly. So even at like the 4-month mark, she was like, dude, I'm not like rolling or stretching. Like I don't really like. She's like, I don't need to do that anymore. I was like, okay, good. Like, like good. That's kind of, you don't need to necessarily. Like, yeah, it's okay to do, but like not for, I think, the application that we necessarily use it for.
Yeah.
And so dude, like she's picking up 60 pound, 80 pound, 100 pound deadlift sandbag, like, doing reps, and the hamstring is working. It's like starts with minimal movement and range, but then boom, the neural output comes, and then it starts to work. And so, and now she's, let's say like 5 months in, she's like, dude, like I'm smashing my wattage on my bike. Like I don't have to stand. Like I can sit and get almost the same power output as if I were to stand. She's like, and I have no pain. She's like, this is unbelievable. She's like, I didn't even think. And that was like five months in. And so after that, like the hips started to sort themselves out. Mind you, there's still a little bit of work to do. It's not completely fucking fixed.
But this is the thing, like it, not to scare anybody off, but it will never be 100%. That's why you need to continuously working on it. If she would now stop, even with all the improvement, if she will only bike, swim, and run for next 5 years, she'll be where she was or even worse. Like
100%.
Like,
100%, dude. And she knows that now.
Yeah.
She knows that. She's like, and like, yes, like, cause you know, like, and I'm trying to work, dude, the crazy thing with these people, man, is they don't have off seasons, dude. And I was like, we need to figure this out. Like, and like now, dude, it's like she went from racing, whatever. These people they're like CrossFit, man. They compete 3-4 times a year, like insanity competition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, dude, we need to like have at least a discussion. So then those doors start to open up. And then we start to talk about like why we're training and like, and then it's not just about the structure stuff. It's about like the behavior around it. And like, that's a little bit harder to get out, but dude, she's noticed, she's like, man, this was fantastic. So for me, like part of like, and you know this too, is like the energy system, right? They get stuck in the energy pathway of just like 70%, 80%. They're kind of just, they're good there forever. They can just chill there and do that. And I was like, yeah, but like you don't know what it's like to fail. And that's like, I'm not saying you need to do that when you perform, because that's not what we want to do. That's not what triathlete is about. Like for you guys, it's this endurance sport. You have to continue to go. But you guys need to understand what that feels like, because there's going to be moments in your like race that might happen to you, and then what? Right? And then when we talk about the somatic error and prediction and observation and all that stuff, like if you have never experienced that failure, how do you get back from it? And like I always like to say is like, you know, we have the phylogenetic hierarchy, right? So we got the flow, fight, flight, freeze. I was like, I think, in my personal opinion, I don't know if this is real, but I think athletes at that caliber, what they can do is like they have those moments of like panic and like wanting to run away and their system is starting to shut down. But good athletes, successful ones, run through the wheel like faster. Not faster, but more efficiently. So they'll be in flow, and they'll fight, an event will happen, they'll end up in flight, and then they'll end up in freeze.
Eventually, they should be able to control where they want to go. Like recognize the thought patterns, like, oh shit, like I'm starting to giving up on myself, and then boost it into the more fight or flow, right?
Yes, exactly. And then bring it back, and like because you might end up in freeze. Like it happens, man. Yeah. Like, and what are you going to do about it? Like, that's what we need to do. So that to me was like, that's something that they don't even understand. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine, but like we need to work on this. So part of like our training, even just for like, not even necessarily like the pedals and the bikes and the running, like it was like, how can we manage energy more efficiently? How can we kind of understand the state that we're in and move through that state if we need to? And so there was burn the questions. So there was like bringing a ton of intensity and some Q+1, because like everything's Q-1 and below for them. Yeah. And so that was fascinating.
Can you explain what that means?
So like burn the questions and the Q-1
just the terms, like what kind of trainings those are.
So basically the burn the questions is like I would get her to do an EMOM on the sled. So every minute on the minute, she would sprint a sled for a certain distance and then rest. You know, so I'm basically looking at like we only have a 30, 40 foot turf. So it's basically there and back, you know, round like 70, anywhere from like 60 to 80 feet. And then she rests. So it's about 15-second all-out sprint on the sled. Mm-hmm. And then basically what I'm looking at is like, okay, where's the time? And are you making it back in that same time within a certain percentage of time, right? Like I'm looking for like, if she's doing more than if it's taking longer than 5 seconds from the original start, then it's done. The workout's finished. If not, okay, good. We're going to keep going. And what I noticed was like, I would do this. We'd sled push and we'd sled drag. So, and here's the fascinating thing. They're two very different exercises. You know this. But they had two very profoundly different results. So, the sled push, I would get her about 8 minutes to start, relatively heavy, and she would finish the workout gassed, but like, this was the point, was like, she could not reach failure. She couldn't push herself to collapse. So, you know when you do a hard, intense workout like that, you're dead, right? Like, truly, you just want to roll on the floor and die, right? You know this, I know this. That can't happen with them. She can't do that. And I was like, well, this is interesting. So then we try this. It gets a little bit better, but the ability to fail is not within their behavior. And I was like, this is a problem.
Yeah, they will say, or they will push hard. They will say they are pushing hard, but it's not hard enough for them to go beyond point of sustainability because they are so used to being in a pace that is still sustainable that even they go hard, they will very rarely or very hardly go beyond the point of sustainable effort.
100%.
Yeah.
And I was like, but there's going to be an event that could happen to you that could change that, right? And it's not even your physical output. Like something on your bike could fall or you could lose something. And it's funny because she's like, that's happened to me. And she's like, this is what happened. And it was catastrophic.
Yeah.
So basically what happened was she was running, the gels fell out of the bike, and then she ended up taking some gels. She's like, well, shit, she starts to panic. She takes some gels that she didn't know that were like what brand or kind they were. She took them, not good. System basically was going into like full shock and she just wanted to like puke and vomit and all this stuff. And I was like, that's your variable right there. That is you not going to, and then the whole system shut down. So it went, it literally went into freeze. And she's like, yeah, I was sitting on the front lawn of someone's house, like dying, watching everyone pass me. And I was like, there.
You're reminding me some funny stories with Amy, who is my friend, and I was preparing her for Ironman. And her and her other friend, they did a half Ironman, but one of them, I believe it was the other one, came back with a stress fracture in her shin.
Yeah.
So basically, similar stuff like very good on bike, swim, and run, and strength very low, body awareness very low, ability to contract muscles on demand, which is very different from ability to use the muscles, right? Because you can be able to use the muscles, but you just can't feel that you're using them. But you want both of these skills, yeah? You not only want to activate the muscle, you want to feel when you're activating. Well, it's the whole point. Anyway, and as you're saying, like mind games, so I was fucking up with her so much. I remember workouts, because exactly this philosophy, like I'm just smiling now because you reminded me. Like I had the exactly same philosophy. Like you, and she was supposed to go to Texas for the Ironman, which didn't happen because COVID started. So this was 2020.
Oh shit!
Anyway, we were preparing for it 8 months, like purely for that. She wasn't even working that time, and she basically her job was to prepare for that Ironman. It was amazing. Yeah, she could train a couple of times a day if we needed. Anyway, like I did her, like I was actually fucking up with her mind, just testing how far I can push it until she will like kill me one day. And like there is this beach running track. If she'll be listening to this, she'll laugh so hard. Now, 4 years ago, she wasn't laughing. So I gave her 40 or 50 kilo sandbag, and it was a 1 kilometer run, but it was like a loop. Like you go there and there is a slide loop and you're coming back. And I told her, you carry this sandbag for the whole kilometer. Every time you drop it, you run to the beginning, and then and you run back to the sandbag. Yeah?
I have done that before, dude. It's fucking gross.
It's crazy. The only thing that was kind of okay was that after the half of it, she was actually coming back, so the runs were getting shorter. But we were there like 2.5 hours or something. It was something.
Oh
crazy.
My gosh!
And then
dude.
I was fucking up with her mind so bad. Like I told her, "You're going to do this," because she was also doing the. We started just for the context. When I got her, I think she didn't touch bike wasn't swimming or running for like first 3 or 4 months at all, because she didn't need that. She needed to get some strength in, and we only focused. I believe it was 18 weeks. She didn't touch anything, and then we started to introduce it. Well, turned out as a pretty good strategy, especially how deep she was, how deeply she was needing that.
Yes.
And then when she was doing some workouts, and I started to slowly introduce it, so I was like, okay, so we'll do 10 rounds of this. And one of the aspect was 200-meter run, which was like nothing, right? Like 200 meters, 2 kilometers in a whole workout. Like it was nothing for her, but she was so excited to do it. But then I, for example, told her like, okay, so you're doing this workout, you do the run. So she was super excited, and she forgot that there's other stuff as well. I told her, you'll do the ring dips here, and you'll do ring dips on these parallels. It was like an outdoor built gym. So basically it was 2 pieces of, metal, these outdoor parallels.
Yeah.
And she was doing dips, and I told her, but you need to do at least 15 unbroken. If you don't do 15 unbroken, the set doesn't count. So you better think about your effort. Just making sure that, And then one round, she was already kind of struggling, and she was like 13, 14. I was like, jump down. And she got scared, so she jumped down. I was like, why the fuck?
You're fucked, dude.
Like, why the fuck you listening to me?
Oh, dude, you're fucked.
And she needed to go again, the 15, And
that's fucking torture, bro.
But it helped her so much. Like one day she started to swim, and she came back, and she was like all like this red, different marks on her skin. I was like, what the fuck? And she's like, yeah, there is so many jellyfish. I was like, and in Texas there might not be.
God.
And she's like, well, I don't know how is the water in Texas. I was like, yeah, there you go, another round. Like you never know. So it wasn't.
Dude,
so
that's awesome.
I knew they are not dangerous, but they were not nice. But like, if somebody wants to do something like an Ironman, like you better be fucking tough mentally. I remember.
Oh, dude, and that's
just last one.
Go ahead.
Poor Amy. Yeah. I got her to do sandbag carry up and down 20 stairs 20 times. I think at number 10 she like sat down rounds 20 times up and down, 40 or 50 kilo sandbag carry, but stairs.
Oh my God, bro.
I think she cried after like 5th one and 10th one, because she was like, this, like how can I finish? How can I ever finish this? I was like, well, you better answer it now, because when you'll be on that bike or on that run, you're not quitting on that Ironman, And even though she didn't do the,
sounds nasty.
the stairs were like, they are not nice for the sandbag.
How many stairs?
20 stairs.
Oh my!
But it was continuous. There wasn't like a platform in the middle. There were continuous stairs.
Just kept going up and up. Yeah.
So it was brutal, but like, come on, like if you want to go to a war, you can't train on a kindergarten playground,
Yeah, dude, and that's man, I'm gonna buddy, all these new ideas now. Oh, dude, that was like a huge issue that I noticed, was like just the even the behavior around how you're acting is like, for them it's instant. It's like flow, fight, and then flight, and they just live in flight, because everything is just like just shut down.
Yeah, they live in flight.
Everything is, and then even everything is. It's just like, how can I endure without having to like. Can I just keep going and fuck everything, pretty much?
I was like, I have another story, but I'm not going to tell you now because it's very long. But it is actually regarding to triathlon training and nutrition. What we did with Amy, and it was just like they're doing everything opposite.
Yes, dude. Man, I'd love to hear about that, because that's one thing I want to crack with this lady. Well, here basically, too. It's just one thing at a time, right?
Yeah. But like,
take with these people.
Long story short, the energy gels on the go are not the best thing you can do for you.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah,
that's what I figured. And it's funny because like, in my brain too, I'm like, okay, well, like, yes, you do need sustenance in that way, but I was like, how much of this, like, you thinking you need energy is because you're panicking all the time. You know?
Yeah. It was the mental thing.
That's exactly.
It was the mental thing.
That was my instant assumption, and I was like, there's something there that.
And imagine that you get a habit of you are on a 6-hour bike ride because you're training for an Ironman. Every time you get a drop in an energy or attitude, you get some sugar on. Like, what are you teaching your dopamine system?
Yeah.
First of all, sugar is supposed to make you feel good in any condition. And second, there is no power within to overcome fatigue.
Yes.
And that's so fucked up.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's so fucked up.
And then it doesn't force the body to use those other pathways.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, this is the easiest one.
Hey, it's like it's basically 6-hour bike ride or 8-hour bike training. When you are constantly sipping on an energy gels, it's basically like an analogy to a lifespan of a heroin addict. You know, because you're just getting the next shot.
You're just bumping every time
to a next one, and then to a next one, and then the interval shortens, and then you're tired anyway, and you don't know why. You know, like it's a very tricky pattern to develop.
Dude, okay, we'll definitely have to have a conversation around that, because that's something that I've just thought, just getting into this world. Like, you got to think, man. Like, I don't know anything about triathlete. Like, I understand, you know, I know the distance, I get it's bike swim, you know, swim, bike, run, like, I get that, but like, I didn't know what these people were like, and so talking to them, it's just like, holy, and like, I'm just like kind of reading up on stuff, and like, you know, even their idea around lactate is like, and their VO2 max, VLA max, like all that stuff has like been really interesting, and like how they approach that through their training. So we do the burn the questions, and the sled pushing is different. Okay, that it seems to work, but it's different. So I was like, okay, well, let's try the same output, like EMOM style, but let's sled drag.
Okay.
So we're gonna drag the sled. So we're gonna walk backwards.
So the push wasn't working because she just basically couldn't get to a point of burnout. Yeah,
exactly. So, and I was like, okay, well, then maybe it's more weight, but then the weight's too heavy and it's slowing her down, and then it's like, okay, well, maybe more time. And I was like, I'm gonna just try the drag. So we try the drag, and bro. There wasn't necessarily like this like huge crash at the end, but something hit her way harder than the pushing. And so I'm like sitting there, I'm thinking, and like after like the 4th or 5th round, like I'm always like watching what people are doing with the sled, right? And so like if you can stay with the sled, I know you're okay, because the sled is your perceived cause of stress, right?
Yeah, that's the danger.
So you're going to dissociate from it, and you're going to start to walk away from it. And so like by the 6th round, like I start to see like the handles coming off, and like she's stepping back away from the sled, and I was like, oh, okay, now this is something, because Nick, now I'm starting to get to it, whereas like the sled push, it wasn't that. She was with the sled the whole time. And so then she still can't get there, because this is the first time doing it, but there was a noticeable difference. And so we do it a couple more times, you know, weeks go by, and I ask her, and I was like, hey, when you're, like, what happens? Like, what are you feeling when you're doing the sled drag? And she's like, man, my fucking quads. And I was like, okay, good. That's good. But I was like, but like, what happens? She's like, dude, all I can tell you is my fucking quads are going to explode. And I was like, does that make you anxious? She's like, yeah. And I was like, and she's like, I don't know why, but it does. And so I spent a couple days thinking about it, and I was like, wait a minute. She's got no glutes. Well, sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fine.
The posterior structure is not working.
Yeah.
So really, and her quads are massive. And I was like, wait a second. The minute that I start pushing her quads, she starts to freak out, because guess what? The quads are the only thing hanging in there with her. So if those quads go, that's fucking it. The race is done. It's failure. She won't be able to move. She won't be able to bike. She won't be able to run. Cycle, the Ironman, finished. Finito. And so I was like, oh my God.
Doing 180 kilometers on bike and marathon on basically mostly loading the quads, that's tough. that stuff.
Exactly. And so, but that's what she's built herself to do pretty much, because that's the only way. And like, mind you, as the years have gone by, it's gotten worse because the problems are exacerbating, right? Like, it works until it doesn't kind of thing. But I was like, oh my gosh. So like, that is where I started to use that as my stress builder, because I was like, this is what's really getting you. Is like, it's the legs. It's not even like the weight or the workout we're doing. It's just that feeling and that sensation to your legs feeling like they're gonna quit. So like, she's going to the point where her fucking legs aren't working anymore. That scares her, like, instantly. And so then she starts to panic. And so that's what we worked on, is like a lot of that. And then even just bike sprints. So like, getting the fatigue in the legs, and then obviously, as the structure got better, she could hold on to longer sprints. But eventually, the quads just kick in, right? That's just the way that her system is going to work.
This is kind of off the topic, and like, this is just kind of an idea for you to try, because it's just popped in my head. Does she has some kind of like paces that she's trying to make on her intervals when she's training for the bike?
Oh, bro, that's you. Yeah, bro. Of course they do. So I would have. Yeah.
Would you try? Would you try to do?
Yeah.
Prove her how useless. Well, not useless, but like,
yeah,
how different variables can completely make it useless, to express it correctly. Give her like a sled sprint or sled drag, just to blow off legs as much as you can. Yeah. Even maybe a couple of intervals, or just like a little bit longer distance, but very intense. Yeah. And then straight away into the bike, and she's supposed to keep the paces that she's normally keeping. That is also showing a variable of what if the fatigue will be different, because your breathing will be changed, because your diet will not be awesome. You know, you just change the variables and show her like, okay, well, you know, the old saying, like, everybody's strong when they are fresh, but do it under fatigue. Massive load. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I love this because you said breathing. So, guess what? Can't fucking breathe.
Yeah. Well, everything can't through breathe. The mouth, yeah?
Everything. And like little wisps, dude.
Just gasping, like, not breathing.
Yeah, like, just, but like minimal. You can barely hear it, dude. Even when I'm like, okay, in through the nose, out through the lips. Let's try to, bro, it's minimal. It's minimal. So with them, what I've also learned is that it's like, how fucked up can I get and look normal? That's them in a nutshell. And so expression, and I've got 4 of them, 4 triathletes now, and they're all the fucking same. All of them. They can't breathe. They can't push at all. 0. And so it's good, man, because I'm like, okay, fuck, there's like a pattern showing up, right? And I was like, we need to work this. Yeah. And so it was just fascinating. But then we start to do these intervals more frequently, and like, it's still not there, because the behavior, I find, is the hardest thing to make, right? It takes time.
Are they prone to like doing extra homeworks?
Oh, like the stuff that I give them? Yeah, or like just in general.
In general, like if you give them some stuff to do at home or on their own, would they do it?
3 out of the 4 will.
Okay.
One of them no.
So I would just tell them that a new rule: you can bike and run as much as you like, but for next month you can only do it if you do it with nose only breathing.
Dude, there's no way they'd fucking tell me to fuck off. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. I tell you,
that's why I'm asking. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't. So that's where it's like, that's the time part. Is like, I have to give them enough of the things that they want, and the needs will come
for sure.
too.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what's happened. But that's like,
you know, this the best. Like
nutrition. Is like what I'm trying to eventually get to. And like, this is 8 months, and
I'm just throwing in ideas, like, of course you know the best how they will react, so you have to do you.
No, but you're like, I love it because we think the same, like we're on the same page. Like, that's where I'm at in like another year. Because like they're not even fucking there yet, man. Like, and it's like, and you got to think too, like, she hasn't raced for the last 8 months, and she's not going to race, and that is huge too, right? Like, she's not going to race. she's going, I think, to Alpe d'Huez, I think is what it's called. I think it's in France or something. But it's not a race. It's just like hill climbing. Like, so they're just doing a lot of biking. Okay. And she's like, that's where I feel the best right now. And she's like, I'm not even going to run yet. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, perfect. Like, just, and like that, even that mentality shift is like massive for them, right? To like not want to compete every fucking 4 months, which is pretty much what they do.
You know what can happen? This happened with one guy I used to train him there. I didn't train him because I left from the country, and then we just kept in touch, and we were talking a couple of times, and after one talk he basically stopped doing what he was doing to that point pretty excessively, which was running Spartan races. Yeah. Because so one day, and he was like, you know how they do the weekend where you have one day you have the sprint one, then the medium distance, and then the super is the next day. So he would do all of them in one weekend. He would finish.
Dude.
He would finish trifecta, where he would do sprint, which is like 5K one. Then I don't know what they call it, super or whatever.
Yeah, like an ultra,
which is like 10 to 12 or maybe up to 15, and then following day he would do 50. The beast, yeah.
Oh my god, bro!
So he did trifecta weekend very regularly, and then when we were talking about it, I was like, well, like okay, heads down, whatever. But when you're there, why are you doing it? Like, do you like it, or like what is the reason? And then I met him after half a year after that, and he's like, I stopped doing Spartans. I was like, why? He's like, because of what you asked me. Because when he was on the beast,
oh my god,
I was like, what? I didn't mean
you don't even know.
I just was curious. Mm-hmm. And he told me that he started to ask himself in the middle of that race, when he was like 26K in, and he knew that he's half the way only. And basically it was made like 2 loops. So he came to the start, and they told him, this was 1 round, and now you go the whole thing again. And he was like, holy shit. And as he was doing the second part, mentally he was like, why am I even doing this? And he started to think about it. And then basically from then, he really stopped doing it, because he's like, I'm over it. Which, and I'm not saying that that's the right way to keep people off it. Not at all. But if it's a self-destruction mechanism and that's why they're doing it, then they should stop. If it's just proving that I can, well, there are healthier ways and healthier motives to do a physical activity, So it's kind of, you help people and you guide them to evolve to be better. Even if it means doing less,
Yeah, and that's what I always say is like why? And when people are fumbling to figure it out, I was like, yeah, you're probably not doing this for the best reason.
Yeah.
And like slowly, right? Like, because it's hard. You can't cut just, they think they love it, right? Or they think they love it for the reason that they think they do. But that's not always necessarily the real reason. Yeah. And so some of them
It takes a lot of self-reflection and honesty to actually be able to answer that openly for
genuinely.
Yourself, yeah? Not even 100%. For others, just for yourself.
Exactly. And so that's been a cool thing, because like now there's like what's happened with her is like, so, and this was what I saw fascinating, is like she like the structure started getting better. She started strength training more. The running was down. The biking was still up, because that's just genuinely what she loves to do, which is like, that's great. And then, she's introducing swimming. I'm kind of also helping her with the shoulder. That's getting better. And then over the holidays, New Year's, she's like, oh, I went to a New Year's party. And she's like, I just want to tell you something. And I was like, okay, like what? Like, what's going on? And she, like, we had done some lactate testing too. Because, like, I'll do that with athletes as well, if they're interested in that. And there was definitely, like, some social anxiety that was there. And so she said she went to this like Christmas party, and it was like, like it was downtown with a bunch of people. She only knew a couple people, but it was like a big thing. And she's like, dude, I was on the dance floor without a drink dancing. And she's like, John, like I've never done that. And she's like, I did it and I was comfortable and I had fun. And I was like, holy shit. And she's like, yeah, dude, it wasn't stressful. She's like, usually, like, I have to do that. I could do that, maybe, but, like, I have to have a couple drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I was sober the whole time. She's like, it was amazing. And I was like, dude, if that's not help, you know, beyond, like...
Winning.
A fucking... Yeah.
100%.
That, like, that's everything, dude. And I just couldn't believe it, because those were, like, that was unsolicited, like, that was her experience. I didn't... You know, like, it just came from her. She's like, oh, I just realized this. And then, dude, it's like, you know, fast forward now to, like, 8 months later, and it's like, bro, she's, like, crushing the bike and, like, slowly adding things. Like, she now is not going to race, I think, like, actually going to try to race till 2025 or 6. So it's like, bro, she's, like, totally changed everything. And, like, yeah, she's not on board with everything, but, like, from where, like, racing 2, 3, 4 times a year to, like, not racing, and like she's gonna go do like I think a race at the end of the year just to see, because you do have to test. You're gonna have to do this eventually if you're wanting to keep doing it.
But she's stepping back and actually taking actual time to like train, not only test all the time,
and do it.
Can you
exactly and doing the right work.
Can you explain also the Q-1, Q+1?
Yeah, so the Q-1 stuff,
maybe like
just
general idea of it, and then maybe like how you do it with her exactly.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do was like, okay, like usually it's done on the bike, right? Like an assault bike.
Mm-hmm.
For them, it's a little strange. Like they can do it, but I was like, well, it's better to get comfortable on your actual bike, like her bike, her road bike. So. But she can set up, you know, they have setups where they can just do it stationary. So the Q-1, I basically, and this was a thing too, is like she takes one rest day a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, you're doing, what is it? Like, I don't know what it is now, but like peak, when they're starting to peak at their training, they're training 25 hours a week. Anywhere from 20 to 25 hours a week, which is a fuck ton. You know, so and like again, what are we getting out of it, right? Quality versus quantity kind of thing. And so I was like, okay, like this was kind of the way that I like tried to get her to rest. Was like, you're gonna rest the full day, and then the day I'm gonna get you to do Q+1 or Q-1 on the second day, and then but that's all you get. So you don't get to make it up with anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and that's fine, like it's going to be the lowest volume you'll do, but I want you to like actually push, and if you feel like you want to do more, you didn't go hard enough on the Q+1 specifically. So, the Q-1 I would just get her to do, which was just basically 10 minutes on the bike.
Q stands for quit, right?
Quit, yeah, so quit, and then -1. So we're basically going to go... So if we're going to sliding scale it, right, like it's a 6 out of 10. So it's not half, it's just a little bit more, where you're going to start to get uncomfortable. And so I get her on her bike, and she's going to do 10 minutes, depending on how she's feeling that day. And she's going to breathe in through the nose, out through the lips. And I'm going to just get her to stay at a 6 out of 10. And she's going to get uncomfortable. So that's the thing, is like the legs are probably going to burn. She's not going to feel the greatest. But the idea is to not let that make you freak out. You have to manage that and just let it be a 6 out of 10. It's not a 10 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10. Treat it as a 6 out of 10. And so it's more like normalizing the stress in a way where it's like, okay, this is, yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's not as bad as I'm going to make it out to be, or I could make it out to be. And so that helped quite a bit. And then the Q+1 is quit +1. So that's basically going to quit. It's a little bit opposite. It's going to be like an 8 out of 10 mostly. So we're going to go to quit, and we're going to add, I want you to do one more step, one more, whatever, 5 more seconds, just like a little bit more past the already uncomfort that you're feeling. And then you're going to rest. And that's going to be more interval style. So we're going to do whatever, an interval sprint or something on the bike. For her, it would be like a pretty heavy sprint on the bike. And then she's going to get to that point where we've communicated like, okay, the panic starts to set in, and then we're going to go a little bit more, and then you're going to rest and you're going to back off. And then for her, it's like I'll get her to rest a certain amount, whatever that is for her. Sometimes she'll use heart rate. Sometimes she'll just use like her own exertion. So it's like, okay, like, am I ready? Like what I'm really looking for is like the willingness to go back to the bike. That's kind of what the cue her to use is like, don't you necessarily use the metrics, use your willingness to want to go engage with that difficult thing. And
I think that's the point, right?
I don't know.
That's the point. You're not looking at the data.
Yeah, that's the point.
You're looking at the feeling of
exactly
to learn where is the quitting point and being able to keep it under it, but also being able to push beyond if needed.
Exactly, because the thing with them is, and that's the thing is like everything for her is metrics.
Yeah.
And even this, she even told me, she's like, John, she's like, I would count. And so for me, like, we know this, right? Like the default mode network, right? You got the task positive and the task negative. I was like, you're doing something physically and you're thinking, like overly thinking. I was like, how much energy are you wasting thinking? Like, you know, so and now it's fantastic. She's like, she would count to a certain amount because she knows, this is the crazy thing about these people. They know a time duration in their head that they can count to that will signal a certain distance they can do based on their pace.
You know what I used to do, Amy? Yeah, like this is crazy. Like they overthink so much. What I used to do to Amy when we were doing this on let's say she was supposed to do a set on chest or whatever muscle group, but it was more strength training. But you can use it on the intervals. And I would be talking to her, and I would tell her, okay, 104 minus 7. Tell me the number. And she needed to count. And she said, yeah.
Sorry, say that again.
100. I told her 104.
It's just the mic was like glitched out there.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I told her to count whatever I say and say it aloud. So, and I started, and it was always minus 7 because it's a very fucked up number to deduct with, yeah? So,
yeah.
So you say 104. It's like minus 7.
Minus 7.
97. Minus 7. 90. Minus 7. 83. Minus 7. Yeah. And she needs she needs to keep going. Yes. So her brain is occupied with something else and not how many reps she done. And every time, and she's still moving. She still needs to go, but she also has a mind occupied with something else, which is not optimal than not having occupied mind, but it's better than having it occupied with, should I quit? Should I stop now? Was it enough? Or what is he thinking? Why is he looking like that? You know?
Right. It's all this self stuff. Yeah. Interesting. So, but what's crazy now is she's like, she doesn't count anymore.
Nice.
She just does.
That's
like,
cool.
There you go.
That's a huge.
That was just a kind
that's
of
a very huge step because
what happened.
Yeah. And do you have?
And she. It's funny. She's like, because I'll try to count, but she's like, it stops. Mm-hmm. She's like I can't do it. She's like, okay, this is getting really hard, right? Like you said, panic. Oh my gosh, what's going to go happen? Legs, and then boom, wants to count, and then she recognizes that now, and then she's like, it just goes away. Just silence. And then she's like, just go. Nice. Fucking beautiful, dude.
Do you have any strategy or do you have any style for deciding when you do the quit -1 versus quit +1? Because just out of the character of these athletes, the pacing is not their problem. Like they're very good at keeping it at a lower rate. So I would just assume that you're using the quit +1 way more than the -1.
1,000%. So the quit -1 was trying to like just understand the behavior. Okay. The output's fucking pointless for them because to be honest with you, that's where they live. So I don't really care. But it's like the behavior, because I could talk to her about all this stuff and the behavior. Then it was worth accessing, but it was more like 80-20, and like and even between the quit +1 and I would get her to try to and the burn the questions. So like those were the two things that I focused, and I would switch them every week.
Okay.
So like quit +1 one week, and then burn the questions the next, and like I would switch and alter them depending on how her training was.
All right.
You know, if she could handle it both in 1 week, then great. But If not, yeah, the quit minus one was just to get like an understanding. I kind of like doing that with everybody. Just like, here's the base. Here's what we can learn.
And it's way better to introduce this kind of awareness training with that one than just telling them go all out and then more.
Yeah, it doesn't. No, exactly. You have to warm up to it, right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the logic behind it. Was like, yeah, we'll do this, but we're gonna take it, not even from the physical point. Let's just get it from like an understanding of how the system kind of works. So
cool, Jonathan. Thank you so much. I think we should. Do you have anything to add? Because this is close to 2 hours.
To be honest, this is not even, dude. I have a whole bunch of nutrition questions that I wanted to get at, but
you know, we'll just do it as soon as we can. We won't wait that long from the last one, and we can just jump on another one, and we'll go to the nutrition one. But this was it was very interesting, very insightful, and thank you so much for this.
Yeah, dude. Likewise. Thank you, brother.